Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bahaj and I'm from the University of Southampton. I lead the Energy and Climate Change Division at the university. Today I'll be talking to you about the performance tracker of the Green City Charter. The Green City Charter was created by the City of Southampton to allow it to transition towards zero carbon, making its city a cleaner, greener and healthier for its citizens. The charter is based on 5 pillars, and these are sustainable energy and carbon reduction, delivering clean air and quality of life, natural environment, resource waste and water management, and sustainable travel. The tracker is created to allow us to assess the current status of a signatory to the charter, and also plan the progress, or also assess the progress as we go along to 2030. And I'll go in details towards each one of these criteria now. So the first criteria is sustainable energy and carbon reduction. As you can see, it has got 3 sub-criteria: carbon reduction planning and delivery, energy efficiency measures, reduction in fossil fuel consumption. And these are also divided into other sub-criteria. For example, the first one is divided into carbon management plan, delivery team, publishing, engagement strategy, and so forth. So the next one is also divided into another sub-criteria, and the last one is divided into another sub-criteria. So in total for this main criteria, you get about 12 sub-criteria for it. And each sub-criteria is also weighted differently in the actual main criteria. As you can see, the carbon management plan has got the highest score in here, and as you go further down, the scores vary and they're weighted differently, and that weighting is based on expert advice, where we have surveyed to allow us to give us an indication between which criteria is higher or lower than the other criteria. So if I go to the next one, and that's delivering clean air and quality of life. As you can see, this is also made of 6 sub-criteria, and you can see these are also rated differently, each one having a different weight. And again, we go down to the next one, which is the natural environment. You can see it's got 2 sub-criteria and also 5 sub-criteria, and these are also assessed or weighted differently in the tracker. Go the resources, waste and water management. This one has got 3 sub-criteria and also made of 8 sub-criteria. And again, they have got different weighting in the assessment process. And the last one is sustainable travel. This one has got 2 main criteria plus 8 sub-criteria. And again, the ratings are different and weighted according to experts in the field. So the tracker gives an overall weighting, and you can see here this is a display of the 39 criteria, the sub-criteria that we have, and you can see these are graded differently. So this gives you an indication of the scale, which is more important than another. Some of them are equally important and so forth, and that gives you the indication of sustainable energies, a main criteria, and this is the other one, clean air, quality of life sub-criteria, and this is the natural environment criteria, and this is waste management criteria, and so forth. And these are the sub-criteria displayed graphically for you to understand where each one of them sits. And you can see from this graphic, the sustainable energy and clean air and quality of life get more of the charter itself as a higher weighting. And I'll go through this now in a minute. So here are the main weightings that we came up with based on those surveyed experts. And you can see for sustainable energy and carbon reduction, the weight for that is 32% from an overall weighting for the other sub-criteria. And this is divided into 3 sub-criteria, and each one of them is weighted as well. Can you see the weights here? There are different weights, and then each one of them has got these sub-criteria, and you can see that in the carbon management plan and so forth. You got 5, delivery team you got 2, and then publishing again you got 1. So the maximum score you can get is 8, and you can see the final score for an entity will be in here. Similarly for the other sub criteria, you can go through the table here and you can assess that and provide a scoring for it, and then that will put into the tracker to arrive at a score. And this is the score for Southampton City Council. This is taken as a case study based on the data that they delivered to us, and you can see from here 2020 or current score for 2020 is 65%. And this is the scoring meter for the tracker. The overall scoring meter for the tracker, it says from 0 to 30% will be sparse measures, 30 to 50% will be scope for improvement, and then 50 to 70% will be satisfactory, 70 to 90% is good, and then the last of that is outstanding. Because that gives you an indication straight away what the council standing is. And in terms of the actual graphical representation of the outcome of each sub criteria, you can see that in this graphic here, looking at sustainable energy. So you've got these 12 sub criteria, and you can see the council is doing very well in 1, 2, and 3. As you can see, number 1 is a carbon management plan, the delivery team is available, and the publishing strategy is good. You can see they're not doing very well in terms of number 4, which is the low carbon heating. Also in doing number 8, okay, and that is really the installation of buildings portfolio. Okay, so this gives an indication where the council should target their effort for the year coming to allow them to get a better score next time round. Similarly, you can go to clean air and you can see the various scoring that we have. You can see for the score here, if you look at sustainable energy, you can say their individual score for this criteria is 63%. For clean air is actually 62%. So these two are similar. For the environment is 97%. So the council is doing extremely well for the environment. And again, there is a lot of improvement to be done in the waste and water management, 59%, and also for sustainable travel, which is similar to that. So that's basically an indication, a detailed indication of how an entity is assessed based on those 39 criteria. And this is also a detailed indication graphically showing what the scores are. So if looking at sustainable energy, you can see in the first 3 criteria or sub criteria, they have achieved the maximum score. Other criteria that there is more to improve. And you can see this is the gray area is what they need to improve on as we go along. And again, for clean air in the environment, you get the same scoring, and you see the gray areas is where they need to improve on. And again, for the last 2, which is the waste and travel, you can see areas for waste management. They need the training, which is not currently being done, and also reporting and auditing for waste stream that they need to do. Okay, so that's basically for Southampton City Council. So what we did also, we looked at how a progression could happen within the tracker. So this is the current score graphically displayed to you in relation to the 5 criteria that we have. So if we had last year's score, for example, so you can compare it between last year and this year. And okay, in the future, you can also compare it with the future. You can also have different entities compared within that scaling. Okay, so now going to our university, University of Southampton, and this is based on draft data that we got from the university website. So they have not really giving us the real data that we require. This is just giving you an indication about where the university standing is. And you can see the score is 61% for the current data set that we have. And that's basically satisfactory. And again, as before, an entity could find their score directly like this. And in terms of what they are doing well, as you can see, you're doing extremely well. And the sustainable energy side, okay, you got 65% in the various sub-criteria scores that are in here. They're not doing very well in the clean air. Score is 31%. And they're doing good in terms of the environment and satisfactory in terms of the waste and water management, and also good in terms in sustainable energy. So that gives you a graphical indication again of what an entity who sign up the Green City Charter score will look like. So where are we going with this? So as I mentioned earlier, if we have the score for 2020 and now we're looking at 2021, you can see that there is room for improvement for Southampton City Council, and perhaps they've done some of those measures that are mentioned to them in the tracker, so they become a good and so forth. So they get a much better improved scoring. For University of Southampton, they could go to 67%, and their score will still keep them in satisfactory, and there is room for improvement for that. So what's next with the tracker? Next is that we have got all the documentations ready for signatories of the tracker to take up a survey to indicate to us an audit about where they are at, and we can provide them with the tracker guidance note and the information which is going to be provided on a website, which is this website portal, and that will give an indication of how they can assess their own environmental credentials based on the 5 criteria that we have for the council. So if you want to know more details, you need to look at this website. I hope the slides will be also available for you on our website. Again, I hope I gave you an indication of the performance tracker, and as I mentioned earlier, this is again the website to go to, and I'd like to thank our funders for allowing us to do this. Thank you very much.